There was once a sales rep that had no clue how to prospect. This dude would go to networking events, spin his wheels, waste times going around collecting business cards, trying to follow up with prospects who had no desire to follow up or to connect with them. But they told him the lie of reach out to me in 5-6 months. This sales rep did that over and over and over until one day the company leader sat them down in the conference room. And you know what they told them? They said, you're all fired. This sales rep was a part of a team that was let go. Now, they didn't say fired. They said the company's closing their doors. Now, imagine if that sales rep had the proper guidance. Imagine if they knew how to use story. Imagine if sales rep knew how to have better discovery. Well, this podcast wouldn't be here today because I was that rep. Stories have a powerful effect on helping us improve our sales game. Fortunately, I learned a lot from that, and I tell that story all the time. I'm grateful for people like Ravi Rajani, who was able to help and to guide me over the years. Now, Ravi and I recently connected, but the principle of finding mentors that can guide you and help you improve your sales game, especially using story, man, it's powerful. You're going to love this episode. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm super excited for my guest, Ravi Rajani. You can find more information about him and his consultancy and the great things that he does via the link in the show notes. You're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Just go down in the show notes, click on the link, get a chance to connect with him. Send him a direct message and tell him that you heard him on the TSE, the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I know he's going to be pumped. Today, he's going to lay out for us the ways of the story, how we can utilize story, where are some of the mistakes that people make with story, but how we can use story specifically in this economy, in a down economy, to be able to have better impact. You're going to love it. Tell him that you're pumped for his episode. Just go ahead and give me send him a message right now on LinkedIn. Say, I'm getting ready to listen to your episode with Donald. I'm pumped. You're going to hear the framework that he shares. And I really love the story framework, especially and as well as how he breaks down the ACORN principle. There's a lot. And I promise you we're not going to get through all of it today, but I want you to go back and connect with Ravi to get some more details. If this is your first time listening to our episode, please go ahead and subscribe to this podcast. Also, tell someone else, just one person. Take the link, share it with your team in their Slack channel or a friend on LinkedIn. Tell them to check out the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I know you're going to love this one. Once upon a time, Ravi, there was this really cool dude. He was in London, UK, and there's a guy over in West Palm Beach, and they had an amazing podcast together, an episode that went viral, and everybody absolutely loved it. And today, actually, is that day that the story is going to take place. Are you interested in hearing it?
No, I'm kidding you. Dude, what a good hook. As soon as you said that, I was like, am I that guy? Is he talking about me? Please be talking about me. So, dude, I love that. I mean, storytelling at its finest, right? You got my attention now, and you kept it as well. Beautiful.
You know, I'm trying. I'm with the storytelling genius here, and I think this episode is going to make total sense right now for folks. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your insights on that, man. Talk about it. Let's talk. Why storytelling? Why are you so passionate about storytelling? And tell us a little bit more about what you do, man.
Brother, I blame it on my mum, man. Like, I think she Miyagi'd me when I was a kid. She Miyagi'd me, man. And for Karate Kid fans listening to this, you know what I'm talking about, right? When Miyagi was making Daniel-san paint that fence, right? Up and down, wax on, wax off. And he didn't know at the time what was going on, but secretly, right? He was learning a lesson in how to fight. And when my mum shoved me into the same dance school as my little sister when I was 8 years old, man, she was secretly, and I'd argue unknowingly, teaching me a lesson in public speaking, storytelling, and stage presence, dude. So, you know, deep down, I'd never felt more alive, man. I was like, this is dope. But externally, I was scared because I thought my secret of me being the only dude in dance was going to get out in front of the whole school. And it did, right? But that's another story for another day. So eventually, my mum let me quit, dude. So my mum let me quit, but I stumbled into theater as a teen. So growing up, Donald, everyone would always say, yo, Rav, are you going to take this whole speaking, presenting, or acting thing seriously? Because we think you're pretty good at it. And I don't know if you've ever felt this way, or audience, if you're listening, if you've ever felt this way, but I was like, nah, I want to go make some money. Like my ego, I had my ego on one shoulder and my true self on the other. And I let my ego win because I'd watched the movie Wall Street one too many
Yep.
times, fell in love with Gordon Gekko. Greed is good. I finished up business school and I ended up on the trading floor at Citibank, where I began my career in B2B corporate sales. And that's where it all began, man. But over time, I started to feel like my day to day felt out of alignment. The best way to put it,
Mm.
I had everything I'd wanted on paper, everything I desired, this career I'd worked a long time for. And I got there and I was like, I feel like there's something else out there for me. But at the time, I didn't know what it was. But in August 2016, I pressed eject, dude, and I entered into the world of building a portfolio career at the time. So I was in the world of early stage startups, right? Working with companies who didn't have product market fit, let alone product market, sorry, not even product market interest,
Like
let alone
a
product
product.
market fit. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I was doing that. I was dabbling in the world of coaching, doing some TV and radio in the UK. And dude, I realized three things over time. I realized that, you know what? Why do the bulk of presentations make sellers feel like it's illegal to bring your true personality to the table? It was like you had
Mm.
to be somebody or not and speak in a corporate voice. Why do all presentations look and feel the same? Was the same second thing, because they were stuck selling with features. And the third one was, why is there little to no storytelling? So that really is the driver of what I do today. And when I started my business in September 2020, the business has evolved, but the mission is the same. Really helping those listeners listen to this right now unlock the power of story to win more relationships.
And I like that. The one, being genuine to yourself, but then two, the art of story. And the cool thing, what you started off telling us, is that something you started with a story, and you got us hooked as well about your childhood. And then the fascinating thing with all of that is that we all could relate to it, because all of us had those situations, whether it was like playing piano as a kid, or
Yeah.
playing, going on a debate team, or playing basketball, baseball, whatever. We all had those parents who wanted us to do certain things, and we may have had that passion inside, but something else overrode it. But that is why I think it's the genius behind storytelling. That's why I'm excited for this. And I think right now many people have the same type of story that they're telling themselves, or the company's telling them, and we could use that to be able to help us sell a little bit more. So I want to dive into it. How can I use story to grab people's attention though right now?
Well, I
How can
think
I,
right now,
what do I start with that? Because it sounds good. Sorry, like it, I'm listening to you, and people are saying I'm listening to you and Donald here, and I know storytelling is effective, but how do I, my big thing is I want to build pipeline. How do I go about doing that with a story?
beautiful. Let's start with this. So let's
Sure.
forget all the science behind story. You want to use it. Let's get you some results, right? So you can
Yeah.
believe in the power of it. Go study that stuff later. So the first thing I like to get people to think about is really understanding what story is in a sales context. Okay. But this is because of the following framework that I have. So, listeners, stay with me. Okay. So, I have something called my story selling framework. Now, story
Oh
is an
shoot.
acronym. Okay. Story is an acronym. All right. So, S stands for simplify story selling. So that's really, and I'm going to dig deep into that in a second, but that's really teaching people what storytelling is in a sales context. And we're going to touch on that. So stay with me, okay? T stands for tactically create your story bank. So that is figuring out which stories you need in your arsenal to share on discovery, demos, and different stages of the buying experience. O stands for obtain delivery mastery. So listen, man, theater, dance, I believe in the power of delivery, because it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. So we need to practice your
100%.
story. R
That was on
stands
my
for,
debate shirt. Our
really? What
speech and
was it?
debate. I did debate in high schools. That's literally what I have to find it. I think it's in my like trunk right now in the house. But we had a green shirt, and our debate coach, that was our motto. It's not what you say, but how you say it. Because in speech and debate, there's a place, a function called interpretation. So it was pretty much like acting. So we did, you get creative stories and you interpret them, like act them out. But it's not what you say, but how you say it, whether it's like you're debating or performing. So I agree.
Exactly, man. I
I agree,
love it.
bro.
We're gonna have to get those t-shirts printed for you and
We
I.
are.
But yeah, bro. I love it, man. And R stands for ramp your MVP story. So we need to start with one story, okay? And we need to take that to market and we need to test it in low risk environments so we can test, tweak, and iterate for the following, which is why inside of the story framework. Y stands for yield long-term success. So that's where you go back, craft more stories, and you're consistently iterating, meaning that story I shared with you all at the beginning, and Donald,
Mhm.
at the beginning of the show, I've probably shared that 100 plus times, 150 maybe. I don't even know, but the whole point is it's just second nature now. Because I've crafted it in a specific way. So, it needs to come across natural, it needs to feel conversational, and that happens through practice. So that's the story selling framework, my story selling framework. And S begins with, as I said, simplifying story selling. So check this, Donald, right? The best way to explain it is not everything is a mission. Not every narrative is a story, right? There's marketing
Interesting.
messages, there's mission statements, there's case studies, right? And everybody uses the term story like they do with the word transparency and empathy these days. Everything is a story. So the way I like to think about it is the following. What is a story? Well, let's take it back to my guy, Ralph Emerson. Now, he once
Mm.
said that the creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. And I actually believe that the creation of 1,000 relationships is in one story. And that's why I have the acorn checklist for the key ingredients for crafting a compelling sales story. So A, Donald, stands for attention grabbing. So you know what you did to me at the beginning? Once upon a
Yeah.
time, I was hooked. I was like, what? Hold on. I've never ever heard, ever truly, a
No
podcast
podcast
host.
started off.
And never, like, no one's ever started that way. So you had my attention. Versus if Donald said, "Welcome to the show. It's Donald C. Kelly here. I have Ravi Rajani. I want to say thank you to everybody for everybody switched off because what you've taught them in that moment is I know how the remaining 30 minutes of this show is going to go. So we need to
Mhm.
be unpredictable to create an effective pattern interruption in the eyes of our prospect. Okay, we can go through some examples in a second if you want. But then we've got
Sure.
C. Then we've got C in the Acorn checklist. C stands for contain a relatable human being. Your story should contain a relatable human being or main character. Let's run with that, okay? Because you could be sharing a cool story about, I don't know, Incy Wincy Spider or something, and people can see themselves in Incy Wincy Spider, whatever. You get what I mean. So contain
I do.
a relatable main character, meaning this. People don't connect with companies, they connect with people. For example, if I said to you, we help Microsoft achieve great results from 20 to 23% increase in convert. You're like, yeah, okay, cool. But what if I told you, man, yesterday it was midnight and I heard a bing and Slack went off. And it was this lady called Lindsay Green, who was the SVP of sales over at Microsoft in San Francisco. And Donald, man, she told me that she'd just been fired from her job in the layoffs. And if she doesn't make rent next month, her and 3 kids, they're going to be out on the street. And she's the sole breadwinner. Now, that is a fictitious story. I literally just made that up on the spot as a insert of the hook and the context of the story where I introduce the main character. But do you see the difference? The second one, you're buying into the human being and their journey, and that's what people want. They want to see themselves in the main character so that they can become the hero of the story. That's what that really means when people say become the hero of the story, right? And then we've got O.
Yeah.
Okay. O stands for your story should organically unfold within a simple story arc. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. You look at the hero's journey, 13-step story arc. I mean, that's very difficult to share in the sales process. So here's what I believe.
Mhm.
Context, conflict, turning point, transformation. I met Donald yesterday at the mall around 6 p.m. I saw him, and as he waved to me, he slipped on a banana peel, hurt his leg, boom, he's out of the game. He's in agony, he's experiencing this. What was the turning point? When we realized that my wife was a doctor, right? She's coming, right? What was the aha moment? Everything's about to shift, and the transformation is he's in the hospital. He's still smiling. He gets to make, he gets to get to work the next day, and he closes the biggest deal of his life. Whatever. But you get what I'm saying? Like a really
Yeah.
simple story arc like that, right? Context, conflict,
Because
turning
he's in the bed, he's in the bed next to the VP of some other company.
yeah,
In the
exactly.
hospital.
Exactly, bro. Exactly, right? So let's run with that. And then R stands for reveal a villain, right? And here's what I mean, Donald. When I was a
Yeah.
kid, I used to love the movie Aladdin, but,
Yeah.
but, something shifted in my love for Aladdin after my parents took me to Disneyland. So I'm sitting, dude, in the queue to get the autographs of different Disney characters. And I got my red book and I got my pen and I'm crazy excited, man. I'm flicking the pages and I see a dude from afar who's got a mediocre sized queue and his name was Jafar. And I thought, you know what? I'm not a fan of Jafar and that stupid parrot Iago, but I'm going to get his autograph, right? So I wait in the queue. I get to the front, right, Donald? He's no joke. He steps on my foot. I think it was a part of the show. He steps on my foot and he refuses to sign my autograph book. I was fuming. But here's the thing: when I got home, I was rooting for Aladdin even more because of that moment, right? So the tension that he had created was so high that it made me pay more attention to the story, right? So think about it. Who is the Jafar in the eyes of your ideal clients, right?
Yeah.
Is it current market conditions? Is it sellers spending more time updating the CRM than selling? Like, what is that $1 million problem, aka Jafar? I'm going to come up for breath in a second, but N
Let's
stands
go.
for nurture trust, right? Nurture trust. So, for example, think about a story having a call to action. Now, if I met you for the first time and I said, would you like to buy my product? That is equivalent of a pitch slap, right?
Mhm.
Versus me asking you a question like, man, can you tell me about the moment when you first realized that your current solution just wasn't doing it for you? Now, I've asked you an open ended question, and guess what? You're going to give me a story as a response because I said, can you tell me about the first time when you realized?
Mhm.
As a result, right? That call to action does what? It elicits a response, hopefully. So you can add
Yeah.
a question, you can add, hey, do you want to book a call? Whatever, but it's got to be contextual to the buying experience and it should nurture trust. Now, here's the thing, man. And my framework, alongside what everything I've just mentioned, has developed over time. And here's what's interesting: it's missing something. It's missing one key ingredient. And when you look at it, what it's missing is the following: it's missing the ability to add business value within a sales story framework. So that's why it's the acorns checklist, right? Because S stands for your story should add business value in a sales story framework. And that story framework is simple, man. The hook, where's the story? What's the prospect impact? And what's the CTA? Right? So I've just
Come
verbal
on.
vomited over Donald, right, for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to come up for air and now he's going to hit me with the goodness and tell me what he thinks.
Bro, I got so much here. I'm like writing down some tasks and some homework that I'm giving myself from this to go and take advantage of. But I love how you broke down the story because I'm a big Joseph Campbell, the story, the hero's journey. But when you break
Yeah.
it down in that smaller construct, I thought that was great. Um, and then the whole nature of the simple, the S, and how the acorn applies to that. I thought that was it's creative. Now here's the other part to that too, because even so, like let's say building top of funnel stuff here, and you can hear me out. This is just like us raving here, guys. We have not you know practiced this component per
Yeah,
se,
hit me.
but the I'm thinking even in like an outreach video
Yeah.
sometimes, and a mistake that I've made is that I might send, like I send you the first email or whatnot, and then I send a video as a second one, and I might pull up your website or might have a client testimonial. I'm going to take out the client testimonial because it's just like, Donald's helped us hit the number. But what if I say I want to tell you a story? I'm going to test it. I have no clue how this work out, but just in the videos, I want to tell you a story. Let me flip and pull up their LinkedIn and just screen explain it. This was John, and the numbers they were, just go through the story. John had similar to what you're saying. John had recently in his role for the past in 90 days, he had a team that he needed to carry. He has never done any type of sales leadership meeting before, but he needed to make sure his team all had 3 to 5x their pipeline. He had no clue how to do it. Here's what he did. And I'm just like, if I did a video explaining a story, do you think that could make a difference in helping at the top of the funnel to grab attention and pull them in with a simple construct?
I love that, bro. And here's how I think about it, man. Is for
Yeah.
example, if somebody sent me a video and it said the following, it said,
Write this down,
I'm
y'all.
going to lose my. Sorry, I'm thinking now. So somebody said,
I know.
I'm going to lose my job if I don't understand this one thing. Those are the exact words that Donald Kelly, right, told me of, who's the SVP of sales over at XYZ Enterprises. That's exact words, man. He told
Dang.
me last year when we first connected. Here's the thing, man. He was a dope leader, but the problem was that he was struggling to coach his reps because he couldn't be everything to everyone. He was feeling drained and he was secretly worried about losing his job and presenting his numbers every single quarter in the QBR. Here's the interesting thing. When I said to Donald, what's one thing that you need over the next 12 months to go from where you are now to exactly where you want to be? He smiled at me, man. And I said, what's up? And he said, dude, I need a specific playbook. I don't know, I'm making this up, to take me from here
Yeah.
to here. The interesting thing was Donald realized that, he needed to focus on this. And once he started focusing on this, here's exactly what occurred. Now, what's interesting is I didn't say once Donald partnered with me, right? I'm
Mm-mm.
talking about the mechanism of what he learned of
There's a problem.
through me.
And then he fixed it. Yeah.
And then he fixed it. And then hopefully the person will go, but what? Okay, who did he use to help that? That's what we can support you with. You see what I
The
mean? So
guide.
there's different ways you can look at it.
Yeah. All right, bro. So y'all got some good stuff there.
We're riffing,
So
man.
that's
Like,
my,
this is live.
and that's what I got from like the first part, the simplify story. We haven't even gotten into like tactical or the O or ramp or yield like yet. There's so much
Yeah.
with it. But the if you I mean, so that's what I pull from that side. But going into the T, the tactically create,
Yeah.
like dive into that a little bit more for me.
Well, I'll give you 5 stories that I think are very
Okay.
important for sellers, individual sellers, to really think about in a recession, because this is what it's about. Now,
Okay.
I could tell you the founder story. I could tell you a product story. I could say why we're different story. But here's the problem with that. A lot of the time, individual sellers will need approval from enablement, their bosses, whoever, to get those crafted, and they need the assets. I want something that sellers can use and craft and deliver ASAP. So these 5 stories are for ICs, okay?
Okay.
First story is an elevator story. When do you use that? When the objective is to hook somebody, okay, and get their attention. Story number 2. If you want to build a connection, if that's the objective, okay, then think about a personal story, something similar to what I shared at the beginning, okay, of this podcast. Story number 3, if you want to accelerate trust, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than a customer success story. Going back to Cialdini's principles of influence, one of them is social proof, right? So people want to know, who is somebody that this person has helped who has similar pains and desires to me? The next story, if your objective is to reverse resistance, the goal is to share a story, ultimately, which handles an objection before it arises. Okay, before it arises. And the final story there is conversion. If your objective is conversion, you want to focus on a story which explains the cost of inaction versus the ROI, right? So before the recession, I may have said ROI, right? But now prospects are in fight, flight, or freeze. And freeze is the worst, man. You know this better than anybody, right? Analysis paralysis, no decision. So how can we move them from freeze to fight? Now, I'll tell you how it worked for me, bro. I was getting married, October 2021. I hit up a personal trainer, an online PT that my friend introduced me to. On the first call, right, he said, like, could you tell me, like, what you think you look like right now? Like, tell me, like, where are you on this scale? And being the dude I am, I was like, no, I'm over here. Like, I'm at like the 9 out of 10. I just need this little tweak. And he was like, okay, let's look at the real results. And we looked at like basically where I was right now, and it was nowhere near than what I thought. So he didn't preach me, right? But
Yeah.
ultimately, he shared a story, he shared a narrative, he shared a message around, look, bro, how do you want to show up on that wedding day? Is it with regret that you didn't go all in on you? Or is it living in blissful ignorance as it is right now? And I'm paraphrasing, but end of the day, he didn't focus on the benefit of me feeling great in my suit. It was looking back at the pictures at the day and knowing I didn't give my all. And dude, I was all in. So the cost of inaction drove me to that decision versus the ROI.
Dang. Make me want to go reach out to him now. Like, dang it, am I doing what I could do? My work, I need to up my game, and tonight now when I'm done.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
it's not even about the product or not even about the service, and I think that's where it's so easy to start off with that. But in this case, again, it was more again the feeling, the outcome that I want, and I think the piece that got me there was, are you doing your best? Are you living your best, or however you said it, like, living your best life? Did you do your best to show up the best, or something to that nature? um
Yeah.
that
I'm
pulled me in, bro.
paraphrasing,
That
Donald.
got me.
I am
Yeah.
paraphrasing, but it was around those words. Yeah, and it sparked an emotion, brother, which is the
Yeah.
beautiful art of story. It sparked an emotion.
That's not easy to do, though. Like, what's the, and I when we can copy and go back to this guy's framework to, this guy's story or example. But is there certain things that I could do to make sure I'm eliciting emotions in when I'm telling stories?
Yeah, man. I'll give you a classic example. So I could say, Ravi didn't meet his pipeline in Q1. Or sorry, didn't meet his quota in Q1.
Yeah.
Or I could tell you, Rav heard a knock on the door. Man, it was his sales leader, and he knew what was about to come, right? His palms were sweaty. His literal knee just kept going up and down, because he's thinking, I know what's about to come, right? And ultimately, I go from, and I'm stepping out the story now, but I'm not sharing it as this is what happened. I'm trying to pull you in the room. And the
Yeah.
best way to create an emotion, for me anyway, is highly descriptive and often sensory language. So it's like Ravi felt bad versus Ravi felt secretly angry at himself that he didn't do what it took. He felt resentment, like deep resentment towards himself. And the worst thing was, it was manifesting in just pure sweat, man. He was sweating in that room because he was so scared of what was about to come. That is so different. So I think descriptive language that also people can relate to is very, very important. So, I covered a few bits there, narration versus dialogue, but also descriptive language to pull people in the room. And that wasn't the best
Mm.
example that I just gave. I was riffing, but, hopefully it paints a picture.
It does. The knocking on the door, that pulled me. I can tell you from you didn't get an outcome, but in my head, as soon as you started talking about that, I'm thinking the outcome is either one, I'm getting on a performance plan, two, I'm on the next round of the shaving of the layoffs that's coming, or coming around because I'm not performing well. So that's I was literally feeling my palms were getting sweaty too, just like thinking about it. I'm like, I'm not even in a situation. Dang, Robbie, getting me all sweaty over here. But that's but I think that's where that, going back to the emotion, where that ties in. And I'm even like, some of our podcast episodes too that were really, and this is like, when we first started off, I do a lot more storytelling in them. I realized it's something that I got away from because I became more mechanical with the show, and over the years we've gone back to our roots, and just doing a little bit of like a story, so to speak, at our teaser, a little bit of like I don't know, like a little 1 minute skit was like really exciting, and it goes back to this thing. People wanted to see it every time. It was just a story. Like, if I did that at the beginning and say, today we're going to talk to you about the proper way to do a performance plan, like, I would want to listen to that episode right out the gate, right? Bro, I
Yeah,
love it. So,
100%, brother. And yeah, sorry, you were going to say something.
but the idea of descriptive languages could be used in my messaging, in my pitch. But here's the thing: I got like, say 5-10 seconds. I'm doing
Okay.
a cold outreach.
Yep.
You're from a list. You're
Yep.
you're recently in your role as a sales leader. You're active on LinkedIn, because I'm tracking that. And let's say, it's your services.
Yeah.
You're trying to get them to be interested in having you come for an SKO. How do
Okay.
you use that story though? And I think this goes back to the elevator pitch story, in
Yeah.
that first 5-10 seconds when somebody answered a call, to grab their attention and not waste it on, hi, I'm Jermaine from ABC Company.
Yeah, no, brilliant question, man. And here's the answer, and here's the reason why. The answer is don't
Sure.
share a story. So,
Okay.
so I think sometimes the world gets uh, hung up on story, or the sales world, and
Sure.
not everything needs to be a story. So here's what we need to do. In those 10 seconds, we need to earn the right or opportunity to share a story. So get this. This is like
Gotcha.
live example. I'm working with this company over in Atlanta right now on their company's founder story. And
Yeah.
what we're doing is we're dispersing that across their sales team. But we know that's great once you're in the room. But what can we do, for example, to capture attention so we earn the opportunity to share a story? So here's a really quick template for everybody listening right now. You can do this for your company, right? So however the conversation goes, one way to spark attention could be, so you know what Amazon did for the world of books and create an amazing marketplace? Well, that's what we're doing for the world of metals. So what you're wanting
Dang.
there, this is what I'm doing for this is what is for this company, right? Something along those lines. So you know how Amazon revolutionized the world of books to create a marketplace? That's exactly what we're doing for the online furniture industry, whatever it is. So the goal there is crumpled forehead, a tilt of the head, and tell me more. You want confusion. Like you want confusion. Let's go even deeper, right? Steve Jobs, right,
Yeah.
released the iPod in 2007-ish. Don't quote me. He didn't say, "Oh my god, it's got this many gigabytes. It's got this." He said, "It's like having 1,000 songs in your pocket."
What?
And the audience were like, "What?" Exactly. Got their attention, earned the opportunity to go into the story. So then I can earn the opportunity to go into the elevator story, which could be, man, look, I've got 100 ways I could deliver this. Do you want the boring one full of jargon, or do you want the exciting one? Right? And hopefully you're going to be like, give me the exciting one.
Give
I'll
me the
say, all right,
exciting
Donald.
one.
I'll be like, Donald, listen, man. All right, okay. Imagine for a second that you're the VP of sales for a CRM solution based in San Francisco. So hold on, I've done the hook. There's the context, and I've introduced Donald as the main character. Okay, now he's the hero. I've introduced him as the main character, and I'm prepping him to become the hero. And I'll say, but here's the thing: you're secretly fearing every quarter because you have to present your numbers to the board. Right
Mm.
now, I'm about to get into the conflict. The problem is that your team are struggling to close deals because they're stuck selling features, man. And I know that a lot of the teams I partner with, they want to sell in a way that focuses on human to human selling, builds trust, and creates a connection because they want higher ACV, more bigger win rates, and I don't know, a shorter sales cycle. So now what I'm calling out is the conflict, and I'm giving a bit of a turning point. Like, could this person be the right person to solve my problem? And I'll be like, look, man, that's the exact thing I'm obsessed about, right? I help B2B sales teams just like this ditch feature selling so they can sell more through storytelling. There's a transformation. It's like, hold on, this person could be my guy. This is really, sorry, that is the prospect impact. That's what it means to them, right? So the transformation is that's exactly what I'm obsessed about, right? The transformation is, okay, this hero could have potentially found his guide. Now, the prospect impact is what does it mean for them? Well, actually, what this story means for them is that I could potentially support them with this. And then I end with a call to action. So, Donald, what about you? What do you do? Right? If I'm at a networking event, I could hit people up with
Sure.
that. So, hopefully that didn't confuse people because I don't have a whiteboard, but that is an example of a short elevator story that you could share after you earn the opportunity to share a story.
Bro, you got them. You got my attention with that. So listen, I think we can go deeper into this in like so many different ways, but I want people to get the hook and to come back and learn more from you. I think this is enough to go get people get us started. Um,
Mm.
But listen, if folks are very interested in this idea of story, if they wanted to
Yeah.
explore this for their team or just explore it for themselves and to figure out how they can use more stories in this in down economy, what's the best way for them to go about connecting with you to be able to get some guidance on this?
I'm going to go against my advice and I'm going to give
Uh-oh.
you two places. I say never give two call to actions. It results in decision fatigue, and I'm going to do exactly that. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do.
Deal.
If
Okay.
you'd like to learn more about the elevator story, because I rushed through that like there was no tomorrow, right? So if you want to go through it and you want the script, you want the template, you want to have it dissected, I have a free guide over at www.theravirajani.com/your elevator story. So if you go put in your email address there, you'll get like a free 5-page guide on exactly how to construct that. And it's going to give you a little bit more depth. Now, if you want to learn more about how your team can embed these stories into the sales process, then hit me up on LinkedIn at Ravi Rajani. DM me with the word Donald so I know where you came from. And let's talk, man. Let's talk. So yeah, I went against all my rules there. And I gave you a fire hose worth of content today, which also goes against less is more. But hey, I'm with Donald, man. It happens. You got me talking.
This was really good, and I think we all got pumped and got excited from it. If I can take a pad full of notes, then we're
Wow.
in good position there. So it gave me a lot to dissect there. So I appreciate you, man. That means it's gonna be a
Thank
good
you, man.
episode. Thank you,
Appreciate you,
Ravi.
brother.
Hey, if you haven't done so already, connect with Ravi. Tell him that you heard him here on the Sales Evangelist podcast. And I'm pumped to have you, man. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for the things that he shared. And I'm super excited. Some of the things that we're doing in our sales approach from the conversation, you saw me taking a whole bunch of notes here. I'm going to utilize it as a little bit more in our podcast. So I'm going to work on my storytelling. You heard me talking about playing with that one. You're also going to see me try it a little bit more when it comes towards the ads that we have, when it comes towards the outreach, the videos that we're utilizing, and also be able to get that hook at the beginning to spark the interest as Ravi teach so that I can get the opportunity to tell my story. Come on, man. This is so good. My message here is simple. I want to help 100,000 sales professionals this year in 2023. 100,000 to improve their sales game. We want to help them to build a better pipeline, and we want to help them to convert a majority of that sales pipeline. So if you can help me out with that, tell someone else about this podcast, put them to, connect with me on LinkedIn, or guide us towards your next event so we can speak there. I'd appreciate that. Speaking about appreciation, our sponsors, I appreciate you guys. Big love for helping us out and supporting us. And I want you to take advantage of their free offers that they're giving out. As always, I want to help you to be able to build a stronger pipeline. I want you to be able to convert more of that pipeline. But most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things. Thanks so much for watching.